Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Truth Behind the Magic. I am your host, Jason, joined once again by my good friend.
Hey, it's Blaze again, ladies and gentlemen. We're back at it with another one. The truth, the magic. We're talking all things Disney. I hope you're ready for it.
Yep, we are back at it wearing the same clothes as the last episode. Nothing suspicious here.
Yeah, it's probably been a week. Yeah, just cycling through our stuff.
Yep, it's the next cycle. So in this episode, which I think is going to be a very interesting episode, probably controversial to some people, but this is the truth behind the magic. A lot of people are going to be scared to give you this information. We are not. We have certain views on things that allow us to essentially speak our mind on the Disney college program. But anyway, this video is our tips to having a successful college program. Our biggest tips, it could be from day one to the final day you're there. Anything we have in mind to make you have a better experience is going to be in this video. Exclusive.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just go ahead and get started. I have a list here. That's why if I keep looking off to the side, I have a list. Number one on my list, which this is not in any particular order except for a couple, which I will say are above the rest. I'd say this one is pretty much above the rest. Not all of them. There's one that is the clear number one, but this one's pretty important, not just in the college program, but life as well. And I believe in our introduction video, Blaze mentioned this. It may have been why I thought about this, but tip number one is be humble. Because I can tell you, it doesn't matter how rich you are, how arrogant you are, what kind of person you are, this program is going to humble you. When you get put in quick service, custodial, you better not have an ego. You just better not. Wait till you see your costume.
I mean,
definitely a good tip.
Right, because you got to remember, folks, it's not like, everything's whimsical and magical. No, they are a billion at this point dollar making industry with the parks, Disney World and Land. And one of the things they want to do is they want to make sure no matter what background you come from, they don't care. Just like Walt said, that's why, when you do get your name tag and it's just got your first name, it's how Walt wanted it. Cause it's like, okay, it's a way to be more informal, more connective. Like, hey, my name is Blaze and I'm from, sometimes it'll have where you're from or what school you're going to or went to. And you go from there. But yeah, definitely, if you stay humble, you will go far in the program. If you do not, you will not last long. We had roommates. I knew people. I mean, that they were very arrogant and cocky, and they thought they had the world tied around their little finger. But at the end of the day, Disney's like, nah, you're not playing that with us. So. Definitely, yeah, that's the best advice we can really give is just stay humble, be thankful to be given the opportunity, and just, if you take it like that, you will do well. You will have a great program. You will go far. Another thing along with that, because maybe it's your first time being out of your state or country or whatever the case may be, it is the Disney College program a incredible way to talk to people, to communicate with people that you would normally never do. Like with the international students there, with the culinary programmers, stuff like that. You meet people from all walks of life, from all around the world, and you can build some lifelong connections. I still have many connections with college programmers that are from Japan, from China, from Brazil, from Mexico, even from Ireland and England. So definitely a great way if, you're like, don't like talking to people or afraid. This program is not for you if it is that. But if you do want to push yourself out of your comfort zone and talk to people, this is a great program to do that. So yeah, and not only that, even with just Disney in general, you will be able to meet people that are heavily involved with Disney. And if you want to move up in the company or want to be interested in the actual job there, like a full timer or something like that, it is a great way to start, put your foot in the door.
Yep, and that'll do it for this episode. See you next time. No. That's it. All you need, honestly, though, really, being humble is probably like the top tip overall. Like I said, I have one that is like my biggest suggestion, but being humble overall is probably like the best thing you can do to have a good experience. Be a team player, because you will essentially learn very quickly that you are like a part of a family almost on your job, and it is very team oriented. If you are arrogant, no one will like you. So good luck with that.
Right.
But anyway, moving on to number 2 on my list. Although, did you want to do another one? I guess that kind of was your first one, the one about really taking time to converse with international people and people that you never thought you'd have the opportunity to meet.
Right. I guess I can add one more, and this one is truly, it's going to be up there. It's probably, very high up on Jason's list as well, which is, if you're not financially savvy before going in, this program will force you to be financially savvy. Because as we talked about in the last video, it is not a moneymaker. It is not, oh, I can get rich quick off of this. No, this is, okay, I need you. If you have not had a budget before, you will be forced to have a budget with the program. And that is one of the things you have to be really good at. And because if you don't, then you will be going from paycheck to paycheck wondering, why didn't I make any money? Or how come I'm broke at and I've only just got paid a few days ago. That's just, that's why having a budget is so important, and being able to do that is huge. Because and it kind of like coupled with it, that also means, you cannot just go to the parks and buy something at full price. Like if something is $80, that's a good chunk of the paycheck right there. I mean, I would not recommend doing that. In fact, there is a specific center or place for cast members where everything's discounted. Maybe a little tiny piece is broken off, or maybe it doesn't have the right batteries or something like that. Or maybe it's painted wrong. But whatever the case may be, you have that. And then further back in that store is like the 40 to 80% off stuff. And that is great. I got my family all kinds of stuff. That was a way to, if you want to get gifts for family members or friends or a loved one, or, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case you have going on, is a great way to shop for them, but not break your wallet. So that would be my huge advice to people wanting to do the program is, if you're not financially savvy now, you will definitely become savvy.
Yep, it definitely helps if you have some money to bring down, which I did the second and third times that I did it. But you can get by without that, as long as you're working 5 days a week and you're not going and spending $200 on merchandise every week. But yeah, Cast Connection, that's definitely a good tip, is go check out Cast Connection, because sometimes the merchandise in there is surprisingly good. A lot of the time it's like the marathon merchandise, that kind of stuff. NBA, I remember after they had the NBA tournament there during COVID, it was just like all NBA stuff, but they have some very good stuff there.
Right. And another thing about it is they'll also have stuff that's like, let's say it's already past the Halloween season. You might, if you're lucky, you still might find some stuff left over from it. And that's a good way to get a jump on it versus, thinking, oh, well, I've lost on out forever. I got to do the program again just to get that specific item. If you're lucky, it might be there at Cast Connections. Definitely a great way to get those things if you're looking for something that's seasonal, like Christmas or Halloween or whatever the case may be.
Yep, they definitely have a lot of the seasonal stuff a few months after the season ends, so it's a very good point. So next on my list, and I think this one, it might be controversial because I know people have very strong opinions about this, but my take is don't be worried about using the buses, especially now that the buses are ran by a company that is significantly better than either of the two previous companies that they use. From what I've heard, the buses are nicer. Everything about it is better, except for the fact if you live all the way in the back of either of the complexes, it's like a 20-mile walk to get to the bus stop. But other than that, it's fine. My first program for 7 months, I didn't have a car, and it really was not a problem. In fact, looking back on it, I feel like using the buses is kind of a part of the program. Like, it's not the same without it. I feel like if you're going back a second time, or even on your first time, if you can bring a car, you probably should, just because getting groceries and stuff is easier. But I will tell you, there's nothing quite like being on like a mostly empty college program bus at like midnight. There's like nothing in the world that can give you more reflection than that. Like, I've had many a thought on that kind of bus ride. But no, it's very easy to deal with. Obviously, getting a haircut or something like that, sometimes you can't find a place on Disney property, although I have actually had my haircut on Main Street a couple times because that's the only place I could get to on the buses. But yeah, if you're really worried about not having a car, it's fine. Like, the program is completely set up to use buses, so don't worry about it. Hopefully they won't catch on fire anymore, but I don't think they do.
No. But I will say, yeah, when I did it at the same time, Jason did it that first time, I'm telling you, so those buses the schedule was so bad, where you either had two options. You could either be there at your job an hour and a half before you were supposed to be there, or you could get there and you got like 10 minutes before your shift starts. Which, even if you've already got your costume on, you're already all set, that still does not give you enough time to go to the locker, go clock in and everything like that, because the allowance window for you to clock in had diminished quite a bit. It went from 15 minutes to 5 minutes. So you really got to be on it if you're going to do that. Now, most people were there hours before they actually had to start working. So that's another thing too that was just so bad with the old bus system, which was, and then on top of it, so okay, you get there an hour and a half early. You also got to wake up a little earlier than that too, because that's just when the bus gets there. That's not when the bus leaves your housing place. So let's say you had your start time's 8 in the morning. Well, you can either get there at 6:30 or you can get there at 7:45. And to get there at the 6:31, that bus from whatever housing complex was, that might leave at like anywhere from as early as 3 in the morning to 4:35 in the morning. I mean, it just depended on where you lived. But yeah, so it was a big hassle, but I'm so glad it sounds like it's a lot easier than it once was.
Yeah, it seems like it's a lot better. I haven't been on any of the CP buses now, but where housing is located now, they have a much easier entryway on Disney property. Like Vista Way, they had to get on 535, World Drive, like they had to get on all these really busy parts around Disney like I think it was Black Friday. It took me like an hour or an hour and a half later than expected to get to work. That doesn't really happen anymore because the buses get on one road and they're already on the property. So it's definitely much better than it once was. That is for sure. And going to my next point, I guess I probably should have had this. Oh, wait, did you want to say something?
No, you go ahead.
So I probably should have had this towards the end, but my third tip would be it's okay if you have to self-term. I know there's a lot of stigma around it, but at the end of the day, this is just an internship. You're literally on the lowest level of the totem pole of the entire company. Now, I'm not saying you should just leave if you don't like the job, because that comes with that being humble thing. Well, not even being humble, but just, I don't know, setting expectations. But if there's stuff that's piling up, if you just cannot work comfortably, you don't feel like you're just anxious doing work regardless of what role or anything that you have there, if an emergency happens back home, just don't worry about terming. You can always come back. I had to self-term on my second program for a myriad of reasons, but it was not that big of a deal. Like, you just go up to the program desk or whatever, you tell them you need to leave. You can literally leave that day. And then you literally pack up and leave. You give them your blue ID and whatever, and then you go. Because I got hired back again for the alumni program after that, no problem. So it's definitely not a big deal. Do what is best for you. Do not let the company or the stigma around anything decide what you're going to do.
Right. Yeah, very true. And at the end of the day, it is an internship. It's just like it for any other job. But yeah, it's the main thing is that if something crazy happens or comes up during your program, yeah, if you need to go home immediately, they completely understand. They're not going to hold a cloud over your head. So there is that. So my next thing would be, so once your first week, or before you, because I think there's a few days before you have to start doing stuff, like casting and all that, and then there's a small period after that where you have some free time to yourself. I know it, you might have a lot going on and it sounds crazy. Definitely, if you've never been to Disney World before, best is to check out every park and opportunity you have to check out all of the attractions and stuff there. Whether that's, and because again, you have the Disney college buses, which they have their own special pickups as well, which is nice. So you don't have to worry about them being overcrowded at any time. But the beautiful thing is, yeah, you could go to Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom in the same day, and you don't have to worry about parking or having to pay to get in or anything. The only thing you have to worry about is food, drink, and any extra merchandise that you buy. But basically everything else is covered. So yeah, definitely my pro tip is, yeah, if you've never been there before, if you're a huge Disney person, definitely recommend seeing it as many times as you can, because there are blackout days where you can't go, and it's gonna suck. Like if you've been working 6, 7, 8, maybe 12 days in a row. I know it sounds crazy, but it can happen. And you finally get a day off and you want to go to the park, and it's like, nope. You got a John Candy. Sorry, folks, park's closed. And you can't be like, you can't be like Chevy Chase's character and go get a weapon and be like, you're opening for me. No. You'll just get terminated if you do that.
That will not go well.
Yeah, that will not go well at all. That's another thing, too. If you're thinking, oh, it seems like a pushover location, it's like Fort Knox to get in and out of that, as whether a cast member guest does not matter. And they even tell you that first week, they emphasize for every cast member, there's at least 2 or 3 security guards for said cast member. So, in a way, you can see that as a, oh my gosh, I'm, really boxed in, but that there's that way. Or you could feel like, man, I'm like a celebrity. For every, I have my own two. Now you're not going to get like personal security guards, like one's Chuck and one's Phyllis. That's not how it goes, but it's just to put in perspective. Like if there's 1,000, cast members in one park, then there's 2,000 security guards at that park at any given time. And the place is cameraed. If you're over 21, the place has more cameras than any casino you would ever go to. I mean, it's just to the nine. And so it's one of those things where you should, it's one thing I think several Disney videos have even talked about. Yeah, if you call in sick, do not go to the parks. You will be terminated. They will look you up real quick. Your manager will call you and be like, hey, we caught you with your magic band, scanning into the park when you said you were sick. This is grounds for immediate termination. So, and there's and there's also, I don't know if it's enforced as much, but probably still is. If you're done with the shift, they recommend you just go through the front of the park instead of just going through a cast member side entrance. Because then what that looks like, if you get caught, is like, oh, there was someone that was not a cast member backstage. And Disney doesn't like that. So, yeah, if you just come out nonchalant, and they catch you. I know some people do it, even full-timers will do it. And that, it's really just be very careful is what I'll say. Because like I say, they watch that kind of stuff. If you're not careful, they will just, let you know straight up like, hey, we saw this, you're done, have a good life. And that's about it. I mean, there's no like, hey, second chance or anything like that.
Yeah, if you are planning on going to a park after a shift, definitely go to the front of the park and enter as a normal guest, because I mean, you can't use a magic band or anything after that. You can't show your blue ID, because I mean, as soon as they realize or even get you on camera, like Blaze said, that you will get in big trouble if you do not go out like a cast member and come in as if you're a guest. But yeah, a couple of my points that I had tie in with what you were saying about, experiencing as much of Disney as possible. One of mine was I wouldn't plan on buying a Universal, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, anything like that, season pass, unless you were already on like a year-long program, you're doing your second program, you're extending, because you're not going to have time to go do that if you're experiencing as much of Disney as you should, especially if you're someone who's never been there before. Like I had been when I was 5 years old, only to Magic Kingdom, hardly remembered any of it, but for 7 months, I went to Disney parks at least 2 days a week and went and did other things, went to the resorts and stuff, and I had no problem with that. I got a Universal pass on my second program, but that was because, as I said, I'd been there for 7 months already just doing Disney, and we were blocked out of basically every park except Epcot on that program, so you kind of had to do it. And that also was kind of related to another point I had, which was basically seize the moment. I basically said the same thing. Enjoy it as much as you can, because you may never get the chance again. Go to the parks as much as possible. Utilize your discounts. Spend time with friends in the parks. And also do things on Disney property other than just going to the parks. It's not just the parks. That's a big thing that I think a lot of people don't realize till they get there. Go to Disney Springs, take the boat to Port Orleans, get some beignets, go resort hopping, hit up the mini golf. There are a lot of things you can do on Disney property without having theme park admission.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just to couple off that, yeah, Disney Springs, huge pro tip. There's a movie theater there. There is the best, and I mean the best, gelato sorbet shop on property, maybe even in the state of Florida. Jason, I don't know if you went with me, but I think I definitely took
I've never
Andre.
been there, surprisingly.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's right by. There's a steamboat, and that's a seafood restaurant. But then right next to that, there's this old timey, kind of next to Raglan Road, the Irish bar slash restaurant they have there. Right there, close to the corner, there's this gelato shop, and it is heaven. They have tiramisu, every Italian dessert you can think of in gelato form, and it is heaven. So it's definitely one of those things that you can definitely check out. Also, keep in mind though, it still is Disney property, so it's if you think it's going to be cheap, it's not. Like that's another huge recommendation I would give if you're truly having to live on a budget. Um, you know, I would definitely not recommend going anywhere that's considered Disney property. Once you're outside of the Mickey and Minnie kind of archways on the side that say, "Hey, you're entering Disney property," then it's safe because there's a McDonald's on property too. And Andre, my first roommate, who I did the program with, he would probably agree with this 100%. Completely different. Like a McDouble off property, $2.50 probably. On property, the McDoubles were like $8. I mean, another thing about the McDonald's there that's different, it's not like a normal McDonald's. You can walk up and talk to a McDonald's representative or whatever. They actually technically work for Disney, even though it's McDonald's. So they will have the sign option way down. I'm not. If you're nearsighted, good luck because yeah, it is a distance. But yeah, you basically have a check-in person there, and they will put your order in, and the counter is just there for you to pick up the food, but you don't actually. There's no like most McDonald's now have a walk up, virtual, order station. They do not have that at Disney. It's very hands on, but again, the menu is at a distance, so. As John Panette, the great John Panette, late great, he once said, "It's McDonald's. They've been making the same thing since you were 9 years old. So you better know what you want, or they're gonna look at you like you're crazy." But again, do keep in mind, still, if it's on Disney property, it will still be Disney price. So just a little heads up there, because yeah, if you think, oh, it's Burger King or whatever, it's safe. If it's on that property, then that mouse sees it. No, it's going to cost you double, maybe triple. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and Disney Springs is honestly more expensive than being inside the parks for the most part, because it's like high-end shops now, really high-end. Like, I don't even go. I pretty much only go to Chicken Guy there. I mean, I know there's other good stuff, but it's basically Chicken Guy and the one place where they sell Dole Whip. It's like one of 3 places on property where they sell Dole Whip. But, yeah, I looked up the gelato place. It's called Vivoli Il Gelato. And it's, it's right there next to Raglan Road, so I need to try that out at some point.
Right, it is heaven. Now, the reason why my good friend Jason and I are laughing so much because of Disney Springs, because we went to a gentleman's watch store, and I didn't think much of it. We saw these watches. We're like, oh, well, surely these are affordable watches that maybe one day we, if we had the time and the money, we would do so. So I go up to the salesman there and I say, "Sir, how much for this watch here? Because it looked nice." I'm like, "Well, we'll see. If it's like $100, okay, fine. If it's less than 100, then I get more than one." He pulls it out. Mind you, this is looks like completely ordinary watch. There's nothing special about it. It's not like it's made in Switzerland. It's just honestly, it looked like a cheap knockoff of a fancy watch brand. And he's like, sir, that'll be, if you want to buy it, that'll be $5. I'm like, $5? He said, no, that'll be $5,000. And I look at my friend Jason and I'm like, I didn't bring $5,000 to pay for a watch. Especially not when this badly made. So I'm going to go ahead. I held it, and then it was funny. That's why I was laughing so hard, because when I offered Jason the hold, he's like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want to touch that." I mean, for me, it's always comedy gold. Yeah, when something's way overpriced, I want to hold it just back. Wow, so this is what they think $10,000 is, or $5,000. So yeah, it's very, very high end. Well, you have to remember, Disney Springs was built and it's created for basically because they would go for a while there. Disney was going after the 1%, so they wanted 1% people, stores, and prices. Now, speaking of, there's one that's not part of the 1%, but it's fancy. It's a pizza place. Very good. Can't recommend it enough. The slices are huge. They're like this big, a slice, whether it's squared or traditional, massive. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. But really good prices. I think it was like $8 for a slice. I'm like, $8, that's expensive. Well, trust me, when you get the size of the slice, you're like, oh, well, that's actually pretty fair. So there are some cheaper options to do, and even the gelato place isn't as bad. But yeah, the Lego store, expensive. That steamboat I was talking about earlier with the seafood, that's about $100 a plate for whatever they have. I mean, it's definitely not for, we're going out to eat, and it's not like going to Longhorn Steakhouse. It ain't that. It's like that on crack. So yeah, that's just one of those things to definitely keep him.
Guy instead.
Go to Chicken Guy, or there's another place there. Planet, it wasn't Planet Hollywood. Wasn't it something Hollywood?
Yeah, it's like connected to Chicken Guy.
Yeah, so it's connected to big difference. Okay, because Chicken Guy's okay, but you walk up those steps to Planet Hollywood, their milkshakes, $25. I don't know about you. I ain't paying no $25 for no milkshake. I can go buy the ice cream for $4 and I'll buy the milk for $2. I'll make my own milkshake. And I'm probably even a little better. So you got to keep that kind of stuff in mind. Like, that stuff. And it's not like there's alcohol in it, because I bet there's someone wondering, well, maybe it's got scotch or bourbon. No, nothing. It's non-alcoholic, but they're charged. And it's not like they add anything fancy. It's just like a standard size milkshake. Oh, that'll be $25. Like, what? No. The only thing cool about it is they do have like one of the original costumes for Superman in it. I think they also have the ruby slippers from Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. That's awesome. So if you want to look at it just to look at stuff, that's fine. And again, there's a movie theater, and it does have, Disney stuff and some other movies as well that aren't Disney related that you can go watch. So that's also a good option as well.
Yep, I've never been in the AMC theater there, surprisingly, but I know a lot of people go there. So I'll list off a couple here, because some of these are just very basic, I would say. Like this one, don't wear your blue ID on your lanyard or have it out when you're just walking around the parks. There's nothing more annoying than seeing people doing that. I was actually on the ferry boat one time going to Magic Kingdom, and the guy came on the intercom and he was like, if you are in the college program or a new Disney cast member, please do not have your blue ID. Or I don't even think he said please. I think he just straight up said, put your blue ID away off your lanyard. and do
Right.
not
So,
have it out. People want to be recognized. I've
right.
even seen them at Universal
Hmm.
that they're wearing it out. I'm like, you're at Universal. Everyone here thinks you're a complete buffoon walking
Right.
around with that. Everyone that knows what it is.
Right. So for those who don't know, so this is the lanyard that they give you, that Disney issues. And then on top of that, they give you this little wallet. Now your Blue ID should always be right here, clear. So they recommend to have your Blue ID and your state ID. And I think there was one other card they wanted you to have. And
Your
program, your
housing
housing
card.
ID. Yeah, your housing card. All of that, all three of those in this clear slot or somewhere in this wallet. But then that wallet should always be, as Jason said, closed. It should be concealed. You shouldn't see anything out of the ordinary other than Disney internship. Now, if you're trying to do like some, how people try to slip people a few extra dollars to get into a place, if you're like, hey, show the ID or whatever, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the park, um, then they might say something, but you better make sure that they're actually a college programmer, because if they're not, you will probably get terminated for sure. Like, that's something definitely. Don't just go up to a random
Right.
cast member and be like, hey, what's the situation, and show it like you're a cop or something like that. It's basically for if you are part of the program, and someone else probably go. In fact, Jason and I, that's how I found out that Magic Kingdom one time blacked out and lost all its power, because I saw a fellow college programmer pushing the cart, and it was just real quick. I was like, hey, what's the situation? And she's like, yeah, I guess, they just lost power. I'm like, what? Because with the Disney app, which they recommend you downloading, it gives you all the estimated wait time. That went completely dark. So it was one of those things that, yeah, we definitely. So just basically to tie in, the most important thing: never have an important like housing ID, your Blue ID, or even your self admissions pass. Do not have that open out and about, waving it around like you're some cop or detective or something like that. Keep it sealed at all times, and only bring it out when you're asked, or by someone that works at Disney, or something like that. But to kind of tie in with that, usually when you first start, you will get this. You will get a Disney self-admission pass. So with that pass, you will be able to scan it and then fingerprint to get into the park for free. No problem like that. Now, if you think that's cumbersome or tiresome to keep having to pull this out, scan it, then Disney, thinks of everything, came up with these magical things called, ironically enough, magic bands. Yeah, they're colorful and cool and expensive. Um, they're not one of those things that you're like, oh, if you have a lot of these, number one, I don't know where you're getting the money for it. And then two, I might question your sanity a little bit if you do have a lot of these. I just have these two. So this was the one I got during the program. First program was a limited edition, Jessica Rabbit. Million reasons why I got this. But yeah, main reason, obviously, who wouldn't want Jessica Rabbit on their wrist at all times? That's awesome. But once you do get your self-admissions pass linked to your magic band, then you don't have to worry about pulling it out. You just scan the magic band, fingerprint, you're in. It usually doesn't have a problem. And the way to tell is, once you do the fingerprint, it will be green. If it is blue or red, then something went wrong. If it's blue, then that means it's just not connected. If it's red, then it means something went horribly wrong. And but they will be. They're our cast member. Don't worry, it's not like you'll be thrown out or whatever. They do have cast members, and they will ask, they know how to monitor that stuff and make sure everything's working fine. So that's a good thing about it. But yeah, definitely another pro tip with these: if you want to put your credit card on it, you can. I would be careful of that because Disney could surprisingly charge you for stuff once you've scanned it and you not realize it until you get your monthly bill. You're like, what do you mean I paid for $200 worth of this? I never remember paying that for life. Well, if you use your Magic Band at a specific point and you brushed up against the payout accidentally, your credit card is linked to it, then sadly they're going to be like, well, your credit card's linked to the band. You have to pay. So that's just another pro tip is, I mean, if you want to put your credit card on it, just be extremely careful because it can be used, in the wrong hands. It can, because imagine now if it gets lost, it's not like a credit card or anything where you can cancel the Magic Band. Once, if your Magic Band gets stolen, you need to act fast. Or if it goes missing, you need to act really fast because, yeah, they will put a bunch of charges on your card if it's linked to this, and it's, you might be game over right there. So definitely keep that in mind. Just, that does happen. That happened to Jason or I, but believe me, it has happened.
Yeah, I never linked any payment information to my account, but I could see how it could be helpful if you're staying there for like a week-long vacation or even a month-long vacation like the international people. All you have to do is just tap that band everywhere to pay for anything, to do anything, to use Lightning Lane.
Yeah, so Lightning Lane.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, just to cover like Lightning Lane. If you're staying there and you have like a room key, like the Magic Band. So you also, if you buy a food pass or food plan, it will also be linked to your Magic Band. Now this one looks a little different, and it's because it's their quote unquote newer. This is Magic Band 2.0. Basically, it's all the same things that the normal Magic Band would do, but it's electrically needs to be charged, and it's because the outside here, I don't know if you can, yeah. So the outside here on the castle, that lights up when you interact with certain things. So Disney thought that'd be a great idea. It's okay. Is it worth the $20 additional that this one costs? No. Because again, with the Jessica Rabbit one or any other old Magic Band 1.0, it's very basic. It's, very durable, and you don't have to really worry about charging it or anything like that. All that one does is just there's special feat. There's the special click on a character and the character might say a phrase or something like that, but that's about it. I mean, it's not really a huge improvement. It does everything just, again, but it just needs to be charged, which if you're not trying to deal with that, we recommend just get a original, regular, old Magic Band. Now, I will say you might not be able to find them because I know Disney is trying to force them out. But if you do happen to find some, whether at a retail store or something like that, better get them while the getting's good, because I mean they are cool, and I think Jason even had one he was looking for or trying to make. Which theme was it that you were trying to get your Magic Band to be? Was it a Toy Story or something like that?
Yeah, I was looking for a Toy Story Mania or Toy Story Land one, and I know they've made them before, but I haven't been able to find one. I'm still looking for one. But yeah, there's so few of the Magic Bands now that aren't the Magic Band Plus. They're so hard to find.
Yeah. So yeah, just if you do get a Magic Band, it's fun, it's cool, but remember if you don't have to worry about charging it if you really don't want to do the whole link to the character and Timon's like, hey, or Hakuna Matata or whatever, if you're not trying to be involved with that, just use it like you would at an old school Magic Band for sure.
Right. And my next tip is actually, it's related to all this because it quite literally has to do with the parks and magic bands and all that. And it's literally just don't be afraid to do solo park days. Um Obviously going to the parks with other people is very interesting. It probably is the funnest way to do it, but I would say probably 95% of my park days have been solo park days. And I mean, you can get a lot done when you're just by yourself. I mean, especially at Universal, I know that doesn't really apply here, but they have the single rider lines for like everything. But even at Disney, it it, it pays to go there solo sometimes. Um there's nothing like sitting on a bench in Magic Kingdom by yourself and just looking around. Like, you don't have the luxury to do that as a regular guest unless you have an annual pass. But yeah, definitely don't sit in your room. Going back to that, like, enjoy the experience while you can tip. Don't just sit in your room and do nothing. Just go to the parks, even if you're by yourself. It doesn't matter. Go
Right.
ride Pirates 8 times or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, funnily enough,
So I guess.
oh no, you're good. I was just gonna
Go
say,
ahead.
yeah, funny enough, Jason should mention that. Yeah, so one day at the parks it was raining, so everybody had left. Now, one thing about Disney World that you will see, and it's rare, most places when it rains, people leave and they don't come back to the next day. Not at Disney. You will see people, if they're going back, it's just to get ponchos or something, and then they're coming right back in, they experience the park. They might not be able to go on the rides that are outside, but they are going to be just ponchoed up, walking around still, trying to enjoy it. But the thing about this particular day was they did clear out a little bit, and Pirates of the Caribbean was wide open. And if you love Pirates of the Caribbean, the movies and the ride, then it's definitely was awesome because yeah, I did about I think 12 times, and there was no the estimated wait time went from an hour to 5 minutes. Literally, I just as soon as I got done with the ride, I would just walk back through and hop right in front of the line, front of the boat, and just do it by myself, and the rest of the boat would be empty. And it's kind of different. It makes you feel empowered in a way, kind of, of like, wow, I'm big time. But you can pretend to do that if you want to. But another thing that was cool to experience on a solo trip was Star Tours. I was actually the only person in that ride. So yeah, when if you're like, oh man, I wish I was the person that the computer picked to be the most important person.
The
Well, guess what?
spy.
When you're the spy, well, guess what? When you're the only person there, then you're the spy. So yeah, it's definitely something that I'll never forget. But yeah, if you can, it's good to go to a group. But if not, going by yourself, just as fun. You get to experience more. You get to go at your own pace. You don't have to worry about other people's schedules and stuff like that. You can just do your own thing and really immerse more into all things Disney. Mhm.
Yep, indeed. I've definitely had some of the most interesting moments on solo park days. So I only have a few more tips here, but I saved them till last because I'd say they're probably the most important of all of them that I've said so far. Well, except for the first one, be humble. That's probably on this same level. But first of all, well, first of the final ones, I would say don't take any classes during your program. That is a surefire way to not have a good time. Now, people do it. I mean, I've known multiple people who have. I've known people who did a full load semester. I've known multiple people who took like 1 or 2 classes. Um, Doing a full 16 credits or whatever, 12 credits. I don't know why anyone would do that. They clearly have never worked here and don't know what that's like. It's basically not possible to do a full-time semester and work full-time there. You will not be going to the parks at all. Now, I know someone's going to go in the comments and say, well, I did it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what your situation is, but
Yeah.
God bless you.
I was gonna say, yeah,
But yeah, even part-time.
I was gonna say,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
if you do that, hey, my Mickey years are off to you, sir. You know, if you did do that, like, man. Now, I will say, just to clarify, now there is a difference. So there are actually classes that Disney offers. They're free. They don't cost anything. You can go. They're basically just seminars. You learn more about the program. You can learn about leadership and stuff like that. And it's just like 3 or 4 classes. And then that's it. And then once you finish that class up, you get actually the little diploma. You can print it out. And, you get, it's just like, so and so has completed this. And, it's a way to build up your Disney resume. But yeah, if you want to take those classes, that's fine. But if you want to take like from your college courses and the program, again, that's very tough. I've not seen many people succeed in that. And the ones that do, hey, again, like I said, my ears are off to you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even people who do 1 or 2 classes, like that alone is. I wouldn't want to do it. It would. Anything on top of what you already have to do there is not going to be fun at all. But yeah, so essentially, I would say either just take a semester off, or like we mentioned last video, do it after graduation. That's really when you have the most freedom. If you want to extend, there's really nothing holding you back. That's really the way to go. I never got to do a post-graduation program, but I kind of wish I had done mine back then. My second point out of my final 3, and this is one that also can kind of carry over to real life as well, but I would just say be careful who you associate with on the program, who you decide to trust on the program, because I think you'll find very quickly that the makeup of people in the program is not what you expect it to be. Now, I know people are going to not like this comment, but I would say about 50%, maybe even more, are people that are just there to do college activity, to party, to sleep around. They don't care about Disney at all. Like, they may have gone once as a kid, they may have seen some movies. They're just there to do that kind of activity. It has nothing to do with Disney at all. Then I'd say you have another like 25% that are people who don't necessarily love Disney, but they just want to get away from home, or just have never been away and want to go do something that's kind of exotic to them, which those people are fine. Like, I would say a lot of those people actually end up working for the company after they can become big Disney fans. And the final 25%, I would say, are the people who are actually Disney fans, and it has like a few subgroups in it. You get the people who are just big Disney, like media fans, movies, video games, whatever. You get the people who came multiple times a year for their entire childhood life, and they loved the company, loved the parks. And then you get the group that I would say I belong to. It's a very small subgroup. I would say Blaze probably considers himself in this as well, but I would call us historical Disney fans, where we appreciate, like, we respect and admire like Walt and Roy Disney and all the old Imagineers. We love what they built. We love to go into the parks because it feels like you're really taking a step back in time. You're really touching a piece of history. And of course the attractions and everything are amazing, but it's really like a historical experience, and we may not exactly align with a lot of the decisions that the company has been making in recent years, but we want to be there to essentially honor Walt's legacy. And I'd say that's a very small, tiny percentage of the people there are actually there because they love Disney. Well, not a
Right.
tiny percentage. Like I said, probably 25%. But anyway, getting back to the point is just be careful who you associate with because, like I said, there are a lot of people there who just want to sleep with you. I mean, the truth behind the magic here, that's the simple truth. Those kind of people, maybe they should just think about downloading Tinder and staying home and not taking up
Right.
the spot of someone who actually loves Disney and wants to
Exactly.
do this program.
Right.
Um,
And
there are a lot of weird people that work for Disney too. So yeah, just be
yeah.
very careful. And I know if you're watching this video, if you've taken the time to actually get to know the program and what you should do before getting down there, you're not in the 50% that is just there to do college activity. You actually care about the program, but you will learn quickly what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's, to that point is incredibly, it rings true completely because, man, I can't tell you how many times I would hear about so and so sleeping with so and so, and, there was, and then there's other college pro like drinking till they're plastered and then doing that and then having regrets about that. I mean, fun fact, Disney there's pools at the Disney housing and then there were hot tubs. Well, because of all the activities going on, Disney actually was like, you know what? We're just going to fill the hot tubs with concrete. So you can't do that kind of stuff in the hot tubs. And supposedly the newer complexes had hot tubs, but the exact same thing happened. Disney's like, we're not taking
Yeah, they
chances.
did the same thing.
We're just going to concrete those closed. You can go to the pool, which I'll be honest with you, if you are there to do that kind of stuff, I mean, basically nobody goes to the pool either. But when we went there, the pool was really close to the front, and the buses just dropped off like, okay, the pool was like right here, and the buses dropped off right there. So if you've got a girl or a guy moaning as loud as they can, and the bus drops, probably not a good idea because you will get termed and stuff like that, or for noise complaints and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So definitely be careful, and then also even within the full timers and part timers, they specifically go for innocent college programmers to be a part of whatever circle of just having sex circle they have. I mean, it is truly crazy how that takes place. And that's another thing too. During the program, those 50% that just want to do the college stuff, they don't care if they're married, have boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. They will still sleep around and not care. It's just one of those things. And I mean, if you're into that kind of stuff, just be careful because if something goes around, it's too late. But if you aren't into that, just know that people do hook up very quickly. Another kind of fun fact, not relating to that, but actually and relates to when you first get hired. That first week, you get asked what your ethnicity is. Now, if you are multiracial or multicultural, this might shock you. So they asked Disney to make sure they don't be confused with a mixed or other label so they don't get sued and stuff like that. They will just ask what your maternal mother's race is. And then that's the race they go with. So you can be mixed black white. If your mom's white, your dad is black, you will be identified as white because your mom is white. Now, if again, it was a shock to me because I'm actually black, white, Native American, a little bit Chinese. But yeah, they just classified me as white because that's what my mom is. And I was like, wow, that's kind of a shock. But, so that's just one thing to keep in mind. It is something that they do. It's just so they don't get sued. But for saying they don't include multiracial. Now, it has changed. Same thing with the hair. I remember you had, it was called the Disney look. Specific hair had to be cut a certain way. You had to smell good. Not, and that was the thing too. It was funny. It was like you could smell good, but you can smell too good to cause attention. You just had to smell good enough. So it was just all kinds of bylaws and bylaws that they've gotten rid of, for the most part. And some of them were good, and some of them were, we wish they still had in place. But it's just one of those things to keep in mind for sure. Because when we did the program first, they were very strict on certain things. But yeah, the main thing is to make sure that if you are one of those people that wants to have a good time and just treat it like a vacation, you can, but just know you do. They do make you work hard. They make you, like we said, 60, 70, 80-hour weeks were not uncommon. 12 days a week or 12 days in a row, not uncommon. And so if you're trying to party and do that on top of it, you probably won't make it. It's hard to say, but it is the truth. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then Jason, I'll let you make your last point there on the most important, very crucial things to have tip wise.
Yeah, and this is one that I would say I put above everything else. Not necessarily above, but if you remember anything else from this video, remember this. Because my number one biggest tip that I would tell anyone who's doing the program is do not stay with the Disney company after your program if you have not graduated. Now, I don't know how loudly I need to say this, or if I need to get on a megaphone, if I need to make a commercial, but please, I've known so many people, please stop going part or full-time after your program when you've done a semester of college and you just went down to Disney and you said, this is my life now. I'm going to give it all up. It's quick service now. We're doing quick service. Now, I know there are exceptions. Like, if you're somebody that did college specifically for the purpose of getting into the college program and you want to go down and then become full-time and get into the Aspire program, which is where they pay for your college, if that's your plan, then go for it. But as we said earlier, if you're planning on taking a full load semester every semester as you're working to get your degree, it's not going to happen. I mean, you could try it, but you're going to wish that you graduated before going down there. I've just known so many people, I don't know what the percentage is, but I'd say at least 50 to 75% of the people I know that stayed there have either gone back home or they're just miserable down there. And these are specifically people who didn't have a degree and just decided to stay there after their program. They made that their entire life. I've known a couple that have gone back home to continue doing college again after they stayed there for a couple of years. It's a whole different ball game if you stay after you have your degree, because you can either automatically walk into a higher position or you at least have a bargaining chip by simply having a degree in the first place. It is very hard to move up in the Disney company. I mean, you can become a trainer within like a year or two if you're lucky. I mean, I've even known some college program people who became a trainer depending on operational need and that kind of thing. You can become a coordinator within a few years. I mean, you're making a couple bucks more than a standard cast member, but at least you've moved up. But becoming a leader is extremely difficult, especially if you do not have a degree. Like, having one just automatically puts you a step above basically everyone else.
Right.
And it gives you the opportunity, if you need to, you can leave the company. I mean, you have an out. You can apply other places, and they will look at you in a better light because you already have something to fall back on. So yeah, that would just be my number one tip. Do not get wrapped up in this so much that it becomes your entire life and you just throw away literally everything, your entire education and everything, just so you can go work at Toy Story Mania. Don't do it.
Right.
That is
I
my
will
tip.
say,
My tip of the
right.
day.
I mean, to couple on to that, it's like Disney, when you do want to look for, like, let's say you're trying to look for a job within Disney, the number one thing they look for, other than experience, is education. If you are educated, like, let's say you want to be a Imagineer and you have experience in, your bachelor is in fine art, or your bachelor's is in engineering or architecture or what have you. If you want to do that, then having that degree plus the college program will help you get that position. Versus if, let's say, you start out at quick service and you don't know what your degree you want to have yet, and you just kind of trying to go at it willy-nilly. Disney will flat out tell you in the requirements, and if you do apply for it in person, they'll be like, hey, nothing against you, but you need more experience and you need more education, because that's what they look for. They want you have to understand, Disney, whether the acceptance rate has gone up or not, they want the best of the best. I mean, they really want very committed, very good people. Maybe your GPA wasn't the greatest, but they still know, like, okay, this person doesn't have a 4.0, but they have a great personality or a great work ethic, or their resume is very good, even though they've just worked for a few years. Whatever the case is, that will go farther than just, oh, I want to do quick service. If you do that, you will stay in that position probably for the rest of your days, if you want to truly do that. And to top it all off, you probably won't move up either. I mean, maybe if they feel bad for you, you might move up, but I highly doubt it. There's not really a chance that you're going to be able to get to that manager spot or coordinator spot. You will probably be that same spot you did with the program. If you do get picked up full time, you'll probably even get the same pay if you're not careful. And it will, and it's like, man, if you want to do college, definitely do college first, then the program. Now, if you are that kind of go-getter that's like, hey, I want to prove everybody wrong, I can do college and the program. Again, ears go off, and if you can do it, you are a step up above the rest, because, man, we cannot emphasize enough how hard it is to do school just in general, and to have a job, such a stressful job as Disney, because it is, whether people want to believe it or not. Another pro tip, and something to where if you're a guy on the program, you, especially if you're working at Magic Kingdom or something like that, you will develop a bald spot, and it's called the stress spot, the Disney stress spot. Every guy has one. Like, literally, I don't care if you're 20 years old, I don't care if you're 60 years old. They're all in the exact same spot, some bigger than others, but it really is from stress, because because you're dealing with so many people, and you have been told, hey, you mess up one time, you're done. It's not like other jobs where, oh, well, it's a minor mix up, you'll be able to work it out or train through it. No, it's you get reported to, if a guest wants to report you to guest relations, if you cuss and a guest hears it, or a manager hears it, if in fact, with this poor cast member who I worked with, her feet were killing her, but there was this one chair, but it was really meant for women who were pregnant, but she was using it. And one day, an assistant manager's just like, hey, why are you using the chair? You're not pregnant or anything, or have a disability or anything like that. And she just started bawling. And I mean bawling. She was crying her eyes out. And then there was a little elevator, and they went, her and the manager went down in it. About 20 minutes later, manager comes up. He says she is no longer working here. And that was the end of it. And it was kind of sad because she was a very cool cast member, but because of the strain of having to stand for long periods of time. Now they do give breaks. That's one thing about Disney that's good. They will give you good breaks. It's not like they're having you stand forever, but yeah, it's definitely one of those things like, hey, if you're, at any point, if they feel like you're slacking or not being up to par or whatever, they will just terminate you, and that will be the end of it. Now and another thing to keep in mind too, so let's say you're late, there is a point system. So Disney does believe in the point system, and you want to play it like golf. And those who haven't played golf, I will let you know, the lowest score wins. So you want to have 0, or if you could somehow get a negative number with maybe like showing up early every day or something like that, then by all means do so. Because yeah, if you get, I think it's 4 points, then you're out, or is it 3? I can't remember, but it's not many points.
It's 4 reprimands, I believe.
Okay,
which would be, I think, 12 points in a year.
Okay, and that could mean, and with that includes showing up late, and we just mean like a minute late. We're not talking, oh, you showed up 20 minutes late. No, like a minute late will get you half a point right out of the gate. Then, like, let's say you call out because you're sick and you don't get a doctor's note. That's it, depending on how long it is. That's 8 points. 8 or 9 points without the doctor's visit or without the doctor's note. I think they knock it down to 3 points with the doctor's. And that's, again, maybe the program has changed. But I actually had another friend, female friend, who did the program, and she actually broke her leg during the program. And instead of Disney being like, oh, we'll take care of the medical and this, that, and the other, they're like, hey, look, you got 2 weeks to get better or you're done. And, to her, it was a shock. To me, I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. But no, Disney, again, at the end of the day, Disney wants to make money, and a lot of it. They make 200% profit. I think they make anywhere from 200 to 250% profit. So they don't have time for, if you break your leg, well, they're like, you gotta get it fixed. Basically, they're not like, oh, poor thing, blah blah. No, they want you to be there at time, where you're supposed to be at all times, making sure that the guests are happy 100% of the time. And, sometimes if the guests are nice, I think I have some examples in my wallet, but like they will, during the holiday season or even just regularly, families are nice enough to give little cards or candy or stuff like that to show appreciation to the cast members, because they know how hard it is to do what we did. So, and to be a cast member at Disney. So we give props to them. We love them. We love those families. And one thing that we can't stress enough is, again, just being humble, having fun, making sure if you do want to do this, do it to its entirety. If you do have to quit again because something came up, we understand that. But if you really want to be part of the Walt Disney World company, then, you do have to be committed. And if you want to, you're going to have to work those 5-6 days a week, 7 days a week kind of situation. But it pays off because, again, once you do the program and you finish it, not only is it kind of a sense of accomplishment, and you get, let's see, I have one here. You get one of these Mickey ears with the tassel on it showing that you've graduated the program. You get a little diploma. It's a sense of, man, this is probably the hardest program I've ever had to do, or hardest thing I've had to do, internship or not. And you feel like, man, I can do anything after this, whether you stay with Disney or not. The main thing is that you completed the program, you went through all the hardships, you got through all the blood, sweat, and tears you gave to the company, and now it's like, okay, even if they don't hire you full time, you can go into a job being like, yeah, I did the Disney College program and I did it the right way.
Yep, I definitely think if you have the correct mindset, you will succeed pretty much regardless of anything else that happens around you. If you stay positive, you know what you're there for, and you're there for the right reasons, as we've gone over kind of. You will succeed, and it does pay off. I know it looks great on a resume. I've had multiple people in the hospitality industry tell me that there's nothing they could see on a resume that looks better than the Disney College program. And it just pays off personally. Like you said, you can tell people you worked for Disney. It almost feels like, I don't know, you're a Disney veteran or something. Like you become a part of a very small group of people that have done that. So it's definitely quite something.
Right.
And I guess if you don't have anything else, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, just like I say, we'll probably talk. I don't know what our next episode will be. It might be, rating the parks, or maybe we'll do some more like truly like, okay, week one type situation, stuff like that. But mainly, yeah, this was just like a true pros, cons, tips kind of video that makes sure, hey, if you want to do this or if you want to learn about this program, this is an unbiased review. It's truly what we feel like is something that everyone should know. And if we've made your decision easier this way, then awesome. If it's made it a little more complicated, hey, there's plenty of other Disney college program videos out there that people have made about explaining it and going into the tips and pros and cons of doing the program. But yeah, if anything, like I say, we're honestly very happy with what we do because again, we lived it. We still love Disney thing, not everything, but we still do love and respect some of the things that Disney does. And like I say, we want to share that with people so our knowledge gets passed on to other people that might not be around us, whether in an immediate basis. So this is a better way for us to express that, share it to, who knows? Maybe we'll share it to millions of people someday. We never know. But, every journey does begin with small steps. This is kind of our small steps into possibly exceeding more. And again, like I said, we're going to try to upload, every weekend I have off. We will probably try to upload everything we can. So, there'll be more videos on a regular basis. But for now, again, as always, if you haven't had, and one more thing, it's just like they say in one of their movies with the cameras, you may not always see them. Always keep that in mind. So until next time, this has been the truth behind the magic, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help us God. And yeah, until, like I say, till next time, stay blessed, stay magical, keep it